Hello and welcome to the Irish Independence League of Ireland preview video, joined today by Aidan Fitzmaurice to look ahead to a full round of fixtures this Friday night. Now, Aidan, the big question remains, can Shamrock Rovers get over the line and secure a fifth league title in 6 seasons? They were seconds away from doing it 2 weeks ago. Derry City spoiled the party with a late goal. Shamrock Rovers could have done it in a big Dublin derby last Friday, but Shells, the current champions, of course, spoiled the party. And now Stephen Bradley's men face another Dublin derby, this time away to St. Pat's, where a point could secure the title for them. And obviously there's a bit of deja vu from Richmond Park was the same venue they secured the 2023 title in. So for Rovers, it's all about getting over the line this Friday night.
Look, there's an inevitability about it. Nobody thinks that Shamrock Rovers are going to be caught for the league. Even outside of that, Derry don't really think that they can catch them, for Derry to win all the games and Shamrock Rovers to lose all theirs. So there's no real edge to this. I suppose Shamrock Rovers just want it done. They're heading into a big week. They're in Europe next week. They'd just like to have that box ticked. Going for the double is a big thing for them. They are the record all-time winners of the FAI Cup, but they've only had one in nearly 4 decades. So the double means an awful lot to them. I think Stephen Bradley, on a personal level, would like to have that achievement done. He's seen the great Rovers teams, managers of the past, do it. So I think everybody really wants it just to be over. Even St. Pat's, just get it done, let them have the title, and then focus on the job at hand, which is a much bigger job for St. Pat's, which is to get into Europe. Pats are probably in the weaker position than the other teams at the moment. There's 5 teams fighting for those spots. St. Pat's are probably still a little bit bruised from how poor they were in the FAI Cup. So yeah, I think they'll get it done. A draw, I think, will do. The fact that a draw will do for Shamrock Rovers, not like they have to go all out. They need a draw, and they will get at least a draw. And
just on this game, I was in the Shamrock Rovers camp on Thursday morning speaking to Stephen McPhail, and the feeling is they really want to get over the line, but there's the added incentive, if you want to call it. They've 2 massive Conference League games coming up over the next 3 weeks. As you said, small matter of the FAI Cup final to come to as well. So getting it sorted on Friday night will let them purely focus on the other 2 competitions they're chasing.
Yeah, just ease the nerves, just to have it done and tick. As I said, nobody is thinking that they will. Nobody's thinking they will take the title away from them, and then with those plans, I mean, it is going to be a tough month for Shamrock Rovers, and that's where the experience of Stephen McPhail on top of Stephen Bradley and the staff, and as a club, in terms of travelling, playing away in Europe on a Thursday, and then coming back to play a cup final, resting players, targeting points in Europe, easing off maybe in one game to focus on the other one. Do you focus on Selly at home as a more realistic way of getting points? And I'm not saying surrender away to AK Athens, but it's more likely that that'll all come into play. So, but once the title is just ticking a box, they just want it done.
So Shamrock Rovers obviously looking forward to the FAI Cup final in November. There's no FAI Cup final for St. Pat's after that shock defeat to Cork City in the semi-final. A lot of the focus on this game, of course, with the league title being on the cusp of it, is on Shamrock Rovers. But Stephen Kenny, St. Pat's have European ambitions of their own coming into this game. 4 points off 4th, with a game in hand as well, though. So they'll really have ambitions coming into this game.
They have ambitions, but I think Dublin derbies are going to decide really what happens in the race for Europe. And St. Pat's have a couple of them. After Shamrock Rovers, they got Bows, then they got Waterford. So there is an awful lot at stake in those Dublin derbies. I suppose St. Pat's haven't been great. They're pretty good record against Shamrock Rovers last year. Really, put it up to them, took points off them. They've been quite off it this year. I was shocked at how poor. I was down in Cork for the semi-final. I was shocked at how poor St. Pat's were. They were just flat in every single area. They were Greg Bulger dominated midfield. They were making mistakes at the back. Forrester was off it. There was no service to Amelia. Everything about them. St. Pat's have been this time last year, remember, St. Pat's had that really strong finish to the season under Stephen Kenny. They look off it now. I do think there's a real danger St. Pat's could tail off. So that's why it's a huge double header for them. Rovers and Bows over 2 weeks. But what I saw of St. Pat's in Cork last week wouldn't fill me with confidence.
A couple of teams obviously are chasing European football for next year. One of them is, of course, Shelbourne. They host Sligo Rovers at Talk Park on Friday night. I know you're heading to that one, and it was a really big win for them last Monday, coming from conceding the late leveller and getting the winner late on through Jack Henry Francis against Cork City. And they seem to be coming into, you mentioned St. Pat's really strong finish to the season last year. Shells have really hit a bit of momentum coming into the business end of the season.
Yeah, a couple of wins in a row, and I think this is really where squad is going to come in to play for Shells. That those few additions they made in the season. Jack Henry Francis, we were all very excited about him when we came in. First of all, his the reputation at Arsenal and how good he was on loan to Sligo last year. He was injured when he came, and he's kind of, himself and Seán Moore were kind of the two summer signings at Shells that were kind of forgotten about a little bit because of injury. But he got that goal in Cork last week that obviously on one extent meant sure the Cork were gone, so he sent Cork down to the first division, but he showed what he can do. And that squad that Paddy Barrett comes back in, the Shells team has been a lot of changes between the last two games, and Joey Bryan again, that experience, I think that he will look. It's the first time Shelbourne have been in this Conference League situation or group stage football. So how to prioritise league games? But they have the squad to do that. So Coyle has been in and out. Paddy Barrett comes back in. Jack Henry Francis coming in. If he can have a big month, that could make a huge difference to where Shelbourne finish A in the league here, and also picking up points in the Conference League.
As you said, it's very, very unlikely at this stage Derry City are going to catch Shamrock Rovers, but they obviously have European ambitions of their own. They're on the road this weekend away to Waterford, and you really feel a win on the road here would really copper fasten that European place for next year.
Yeah, they've been funny the last few weeks, Derry, and really driven, but without Michael Duffy they probably would be mid-table. And I saw interesting comments from Tiernan Lynch this week touting Mickey Duffy for a call-up, and that's been a strange one because when Stephen Kenny was hurling manager, Michael Duffy went through the process of disengaging from Northern Ireland to declare for the Republic, and it never happened. His age now, it's extremely unlikely, although given how poor attacking-wise Ireland were the last two games, you do wonder would Mickey Duffy have been an asset, but they really have relied on him. Squad is very stretched, Derry, that's the big thing. Liam Boyce, there's 3 or 4 players out for the season. Bannon is out. Liam Boyce is a huge loss for them. And I think a month ago playing Waterford would have backed Derry to get the points, but Matt Lawler I think has made, even in a couple of weeks as caretaker, Waterford look a lot stronger. Defensively they look tighter. They've gone very, very loose under John Coleman. I think this is going to be a tough game for Derry. With Michael Duffy on form they have a chance, but they're relying too much on Mickey Duffy.
One of those teams chasing European football, of course, Bohemians, there on the road as well, away to Galway United, and coming into the game in fourth, news during the week that Jordan Flowers signed a new contract extension. It's really the business end of the season where it's all about results for Adam Reynolds' men.
And this is a funny one for Bowes because this is the one game in the run-in that isn't against a team fighting for Europe, Galway, who had been on a very, very poor run. They did manage to get a win over Cork a couple of weeks ago to probably lift the gloom because they really were sliding. But that's why it's huge. This is probably the game of the season for Bowes to go to Galway and get the win. A draw won't be enough because the games after that, they got St Pat's, Shelbourne and Drogheda. That is the real dogfight for Europe, and do Bowes have that? I think a win in Galway would give them momentum to carry into that, but if they drop points or lose in Galway, I think that would just sap away at morale. They have more or less everybody fit. Probably the first time this year Bowes have a full squad, have options. Dawson Devoy really has been very influential, and I think if Devoy can win that midfield battle, I don't know who's going to be up against him again. The Galway team has changed a lot in the last couple of games. It's Galway's first game I think in nearly 3 weeks, so they might have a bit of rustiness about them. I think Bowes will benefit from having the friendly against Schalke last week. They played a very strong team to get those minutes into legs, so I would think if Bowes can go to Galway and get the win, which they should, that should see them push on for Europe, but drop points, and I think they'll struggle. And
all those European teams chasing the European spots will be looking at results from elsewhere, how their rivals for the European spots are getting on, and one of those games is Drogheda against Cork City. Now, Cork City's relegation obviously confirmed last Monday night with that defeat to Shells. Drogheda come into the game in 5th place, 5 points off 3rd. Kevin Doherty's men, obviously the heartbreak and missing out on Europe this year, really want to make sure that league spot coming into the business end of the season. For Kevin Doherty's men, it's all about the win, and it's kind of hard to see Cork City getting a result in this one.
Look, Cork are gone, and we know that now, and you can see they're going to make changes. I think Ger Nash is now thinking of the cup final. Odamusu played in goal instead of Conor Brand last week. There will be more changes. Still trying to get, maybe he might decide to give some more minutes to the younger players, the likes of Joshua Fitzpatrick, who started a lot of games, Matt Murray, who thinks been out injured. Sean Murray played a little bit last week, so we'll probably see Ger Nash looking for response for his players to try and get into the cup final team. For Drogheda, it's teed up for them the way the fixtures fell. They have Cork City and Galway United, games they would expect to win. Drogheda haven't been great the last couple of weeks, and then it could all come down to Drogheda home to Bowes on the last day of the season. That could be the one that decides it. Obviously, depending, Shelbourne are obviously, and St Pat's are in the race as well. But if you're a Drogheda supporter, staff member, player, you have to look at the next 2 games, and so we have to get 6 points from Cork and Galway United and then see how we get on against Bowes.
So the big question remains this weekend: will Shamrock Rovers get over the line and secure the 2025 league title? And there's big European spots up for grabs as well ahead of a big night of League of Ireland action. We'll be across all the latest reaction and analysis on the Irish Independent.